Okay, I'm 80-year-old Sylvester Stallone, ready to do my Last Blood Rambo movie. Yeah, I got my cane and my machine gun ready. Rambo Last Blood, directed by Adrian Cronenberg, the man that directed Get the Gringo. This movie is the 5th movie in the Rambo franchise, bringing back Sylvester Stallone as John Rambo. You have Paz Vega as his niece Carmen, as Alejandra, who is Carmen's godmother, I think, in this movie. Yvette Monorail as Gabriella, Carmen's best friend. Then you have Adriana Barza as Maria, who is a journalist in this movie. And then you have the actors playing the drug cartels. And let's talk about this movie. Now, I am a fan of the Rambo franchise. I love First Blood. First Blood is one of my favorite action films of all time. I'm sure everybody can agree that First Blood is the best film of the Rambo franchise. As for number 2, number 3, and number 4, it's debatable where you rank those 3 movies. This movie, I do not like. I hate this movie. This is not a good movie. I know there are some people out there who do like this movie or do love this movie. And I'm sure most of them are white, whiter than me because I'm half Mexican. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't like this movie. Let's get some context about my feelings about the other Rambo sequels. I like Rambo 2. I think Rambo 2 is a pretty good movie. Rambo 3 I think is also a pretty good movie. Not as good as Rambo 2, but I do like that movie. I've never seen Rambo 4, but I do want to see it. But my understanding about Rambo 4 is that it was a good movie to send off the Rambo character and say goodbye to him, just like Rocky 6 was a goodbye to the Rocky character. So doing this movie is almost like the Crystal Skull for this franchise, basically. You're bringing back the character again, and this time he's 80 years old? I mean, really? Alright. Rambo is a rancher in this movie. He's living in Arizona. He has a niece named Carmen, who is pretty much his daughter. He's been taking care of her like she's her daughter. 17 years old. And he has this other Mexican woman named Alejandra, who is the 17-year-old's godmother, I guess, or grandmother. And Carmen wants to find out about her real father. She wants to know who her real father is, why her real father was not there for her, and why Rambo's been more of a father for her than her own father has been. Her own father is living somewhere in Mexico, and her mother died of cancer. So the only real parental figure she knows is John Rambo. She doesn't know really anybody else. And maybe she considers Alejandra as a surrogate mother figure or a grandmother figure to her. But she wants to know more. She wants to know about her father, and she wants to go to Mexico to find out who her father is. Rambo says, no, don't go to Mexico. You're better off staying in the United States and preparing to go off to college. We don't want you to go off to Mexico because it may not be a good idea to go over there, even though there are some good places in Mexico to go. I've been to Mexico before, so I know that Mexico is a nice place to go. Yeah, there are some bad places in Mexico, but there are also some great places. Anyway, of course, even though she promises she doesn't want to go to Mexico, she decides to go to Mexico anyway. She's a rebellious teenager, why not? And when she gets there to meet her friend Gabriella, Gabriella shows her where her father is. I don't want to spoil what happens when she meets her father. But afterwards, she goes to a bar with Gabriella and gets kidnapped by these cartels and gets put into sex trafficking. When John Rambo finds out, he goes to Mexico to rescue Carmen, but he gets into some trouble and gets badly hurt. Takes him 4 days to heal up, to get ready to rescue her. And by that time, she's, spoiler alert, badly injured to the point that she pretty much dies, and this fuels him with so much hatred that he decides to get revenge on the cartels, and that's pretty much our movie. Now, my expectations were really low with this movie. I did not think I was going to like this movie just from the trailers and the fact that Sylvester Stallone is now in his 80s. Yes, the man is in great shape, in much better shape than Arnold Schwarzenegger is at his age. But still, this is an 80-year-old man, and I really don't care to see an 80-year-old man still playing one of the best characters of all time and not realizing that his heyday is over. Come on, Sylvester, you're done. This character had his nice goodbye in Rambo 4, from what I understand, so there was no need to bring this character back. But he decides to bring this character back for one last swan song, do like an Old Man Logan kind of thing. You know, in Old Man Logan, at least he had somebody to pass the legacy on to. He had X-23. This movie, there's no way to pass the legacy on to. And I have to say, I did not like this movie. I mean, even though the climax is a pretty good climax, and it's very bloody climax, I just really couldn't get into this. Let's get into the positives of this movie first. Sylvester Stallone is very good in this movie, great shape, and I did like the whole setting of his rants and the tunnels in the rants. That part was very cool. I think the actress that plays his niece in the movie is good, and the actress that plays the godmother is good. The actress that plays Gabriella is pretty good, and then there's the actress that plays the independent journalist in the movie. She's pretty good. And finally, the actors that play the main villains in the movie, which only the 2 main villains in this movie get any real character development. The rest of them are just nameless Mexicans. It's one of my other problems with this. So, going into this movie, I didn't really like this movie. Getting into the negatives, oh my goodness, there are so many negatives with this movie. It's predictable. I mean, you know what's pretty much going to happen right from point A to the end of this movie. You know how this movie's going to end, and you're basically waiting for that big action climax and how that part is going to be. That's the only part that any fan of Rambo really cares about with this movie. Maybe you do care about the setup and how that gets you into the climax, but that setup is pretty much predictable. You know how that setup is going to go, beat by beat by beat. You know what the daughter is going to say when Rambo tells her not to go see her father. You know that the daughter is going to eventually go to Mexico. You know what's going to happen to the daughter when she gets there. It's predictable. There's no suspense at that point. And there's practically no suspense of what happens when John Rambo goes to try to rescue her the first time. That kind of shocked me that it actually took him 4 days after he gets hurt to go back there and try to rescue her again. The doctors who treats Rambo after he gets attacked the first time says he only needed 2 days to recover. But the journalist that finds him and takes care of him to get him ready to recover lets him rest for 4 days. Which shows to me that the journalist was a coward to begin with, to not get him ready within 2 days to send him back. And basically, you could tell that the journalist probably gave up on his niece, even though her sister suffered the same treatment that his niece suffers. And that just makes me hate her character just as much, almost as much as I hate the villains in this movie. Well, let's talk about this, considering I'm half Mexican. I feel like this thing is almost making my Mexican family look like they're villains, even though, yes, we can have Mexicans be villains in a movie, yeah. I mean, the animated Batman series has Bane as a Mexican, so which Bane is a Mexican in the comics. But still, this movie just has a white savior killing Mexicans in the climax, and I just didn't like that, considering I'm half Mexican. And I'm sure everybody that likes this movie is a white bread guy that loves Rambo and everything. I know somebody's gonna say, "Well, you're racist for saying that." Well, maybe you're racist for liking this movie. So it's a double-edged sword there. And I just didn't really like this movie at all. I love Sylvester Stallone. I consider him a great action star and a great actor, but I just didn't like this movie. There's no suspense in this movie. It's very predictable, as I've said before. It's just not that good of a movie. I just didn't really like this movie at all. Let's talk about the scene where he goes in to kill the drug cartels in Mexico. And you see the women there that are being used as hookers. They don't even make an attempt to escape. They're too scared to run out, which kind of shocks me, because you would think that after each person that they kill that they would realize they have a chance to escape. So it makes you wonder what happens when all the cartels are dead. Are they still feeling a bit of Stockholm syndrome to the cartels and don't want to escape at that point, or what? And the police really didn't do anything. Are they bought by the cartels? The movie doesn't really give a good clarification on that. And let's talk about the condition the niece is in and whether or not she could have been saved. She could have been saved if Rambo got to her much sooner. But of course, we have to make him wait 4 days so we can have that point where the niece eventually dies. And it's just, that feels so forced. Okay? It does. I mean, if he got there within 2 days, maybe he could have saved her. Or maybe if he got her to a hospital within Mexico, maybe he could have saved her. Because none of that happens, and it takes her 4 days to get to her. Of course she's gonna die. It's just not a good movie. The climax is pretty good. If you're a white guy that doesn't really care, but because I'm Mexican, I don't really like that. Mexican. Still, I'm not like the white hat me saying, yeah! I was like, no. I just didn't like this movie. And just the fact that it's so predictable, there's not much suspense to the movie. You know Rambo's gonna pretty much survive to the end, or he's gonna end up dying at the end. I'm not gonna spoil what that happens at the end for him. There's no suspense to that either, really. So honestly, I did not like this movie, and I just pretty much would consider Rambo 4 to be the last Rambo movie and pretend like this movie never existed. I'm gonna give this movie a D. I don't think this movie is as bad as, say, the Jennifer Garner film Peppermint, but it's still pretty bad in my opinion. And that's all I gotta say for this movie. At least comparing to this movie, to Peppermint, at least you get to actually see Rambo kill the main bad guy in this movie. Where Peppermint, she kills the bad guy off screen. But I just didn't really care for this movie. That's all I gotta say for Rambo Last Blood.